Welcome to this video. My name is Emilie Kraaikamp and I work at DANS as Advisor for Legal Affairs. In this short video, I will provide practical information on reusability and the GDPR in the context of archiving your data with DANS for the long term, and how to share your data. The information is directed at researchers and research institutions interested to know how they can archive and share personal data from research. At first, I will briefly discuss the GDPR in the context of research. Then I will inform you on the practicalities of archiving a dataset with DANS, followed by information on the administrative part of this process. And lastly, I will address sharing personal data through the DANS archive. As is probably well known by now, the GDPR came into effect on May 25, 2018. And it involves, broadly speaking, new requirements for processing personal data and strict administrative procedures. It affects how research organizations should handle personal data, which in turn affects reusability and data archiving. While the GDPR is effective for over 2 years now, today implementation and policy development is still in progress at many organizations. This is due to the fact that the GDPR leaves room for discussion on certain topics, especially in the area of research. This is also the reason why the Code of Conduct for Research in this respect is not yet finalized. How to prepare and archive with DANS. At DANS, we developed a clear policy on how we can best assist you in archiving and sharing your data. However, it starts at the beginning of your research. This I will go into now. It is essential that you communicate your intention of sharing personal data from your research in the informed consent form. That is, if the applicable legal ground for processing this data is consent, which is often the case in research. The GDPR requires both DANS and you, or your organization, to apply organizational and technical measures to safeguard privacy. Deciding if pseudonymization or encryption is needed and its execution is to be handled by you before you start the archiving process. It is DANS standard policy not to make personal data from research data subjects public. This is in relation to the notion of purpose limitation under the GDPR. It is likely that your data can only be reused within the scientific domain. This means that you should not include any of such data in the dataset metadata or file names as they become public when your dataset is published. Then I turn to the administrative part of this process. It is good to realize that DANS is in this respect a processor under the GDPR and you or your organization is the controller. This means that a processing agreement needs to be concluded. DANS offers a standard version for this. Please be aware that in this situation, the controller always remains responsible for the personal data in the dataset and for complying with the controller's obligations under the GDPR. Below, I refer to our website where you can find this information and our standard processing agreement. Then I come to the last part of this presentation, how to share. To start, DANS facilitates sharing of data through the archive. A dataset is always archived under the so-called restricted access category. When someone wishes to reuse your data, an access request will be sent to the email address registered with your account. Next, you or your organization will need to handle this request and apply the proper conditions under the GDPR for sharing the dataset. When sharing is permitted, you simply grant access to your files through the DANS archive. Thank you for your attention. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to contact me or my colleagues at DANS. You can find the email addresses in this final slide. And if you decide to archive your data with DANS, please make sure your dataset is not only GDPR compliant, but also fair in order to achieve the best possible reusability of your data.